Camera rolling and action. Hi everybody, welcome to the Real Estate Entertainment Show. I am your host, James Muhammad, Remax Vision, JM Realty Group, and today I have a very personal and good friend of mine, Mr. Jorge Merlos from Integrity Home Finance. George, good to see you.
Of course, man.
Tell the
Thank you for having me.
even though I said it, tell them your name and who you're with again, please.
Hey guys, what's up? My name is Jorge Merlos, and I'm with Integrity Home Finance.
George, tell us a little bit about your journey into the mortgage business.
How much time do we have?
Give us the short version.
All right, the short version.
But influential to the entrepreneurs out there.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I've been in the real estate industry for the last 17 years.
Okay.
This is something that I actually started when I was in high school.
Oh, wow.
So, for me, it was always seeing my parents be entrepreneurs, my mom especially. So my mom's been in sales since we were children, and that's how the bills got paid in our family.
Okay.
And so when I was 17, I was working 3 jobs at the time. I was working at the movie theater. I was doing interviews for auto dealerships and manufacturers, and I was a model for a tuxedo place.
Okay.
And so I saw a sign and it said now hiring loan officers. I had no idea what a loan officer was, but I liked the name.
Right.
That's all I knew that it was. It was loan officers. And I was able to interview on that same day, put in my 2 weeks at all the jobs immediately that day, and then 2 weeks later I started doing loans.
Wow.
While in high school, and been doing it ever since.
So you definitely have a love and a passion for it.
I do. I love it. I love to help people, and I love the puzzles that the job provides. There's a bunch of challenges in this industry, and so I just like putting my head to work, my intelligence to work, and seeing how we can help families. So I really, really do enjoy my job.
Absolutely. Well, if you've been doing it since 17 and haven't changed since then,
Yeah.
and you're only 27, then that makes a big difference as to how long you love it. So I have some questions here, but I'm just kind of go off script right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, I've worked with you on many transactions. You guys do something different than most mortgage lenders do. You have an 8-step process. Mm-hmm. Tell the viewers a little bit about that.
One of the things that we found throughout trial and error, throughout all the years that we've been in business, is that the biggest thing that people complain about is communication.
Right.
Lack of communication. I don't know where my loan is. I don't know where my loan app is. Either from the consumer standpoint or from the agent standpoint.
Right.
Did the appraisal get ordered? Did the appraisal come in? Did the loan get submitted to underwriting? And so what we try to do is we try to over communicate. There's nothing bad about over communication.
Giving too much information.
Giving too much information. Right. Allow the client to make the decision, allow the agent to know exactly what's going on, and being transparent.
Right.
So not only do we have these steps during the pre-approval process, which is figuring out what the client qualifies for, but once you're in escrow, not only are you receiving a phone call every single week with an update, which is what we provide all of our agents with, but the clients also receive a phone call, and the clients receive at least 2 email communications letting them know what steps they are throughout the loan process.
Wonderful. And
it's only 8 simple steps.
Right.
That we take the clients through from start to finish, closing out a 21-day escrow or a 30-day escrow.
Right.
And I think that really provides the client a sense of security to know exactly what's going on.
Exactly.
And then the agents to feel comfortable and understand and know my loan is being taken care of, my seller is being taken care of.
Right.
And this communication not only transpires with the consumer, but also the agents and also with escrow. We all collectively have to work together, especially when you're working with first-time buyers.
Right.
It's the biggest purchase that they make. They're investing $250,000 to $500,000, let's say, just kind of in our area, just a simple budget. And we don't take it lightly. They've trusted us with their largest investment, and we want to make sure that we communicate that.
And that's very important, not only to myself as an agent, but also to the selling agent.
Yes.
Because even though we don't know that selling agent, sometimes we do, but sometimes we don't. But it gives that seller a sense of sensibility and they can relax a little bit because of the communication that you guys give.
Yeah.
So that's very big. So one point that I want to give is that we always give the information at the end, but if you have any questions about mortgages or loans or want to go through that process, please make sure you call George. He is one of the best in the business. I'm going to switch reels a little bit. Well, I'll come back to that. Let me ask you, where do you think in 2020, moving forward and beyond, what do you feel about the interest rates and where the market is going?
Gotcha. So it's interesting you asked that question because yesterday there was an article posted that I had to have some comments on.
And I actually screenshot that article because I wanted to ask you about, so I'm glad you're bringing that up. Thank you.
So there's so much information online.
Right.
There's so much information for you to be able to Google programs,
Right.
for you to be able to look for real estate and find out what's going on. And a lot of times the information that's out there is fear-based information. And unfortunately, some of the people that do write these articles aren't necessarily in the business.
Right.
They aren't in the day-to-day activities. Sometimes they're only looking at numbers. Now, that being said, the article that we're referencing was saying that within the next decade, real estate prices would drop 25 to 50%. That's super scary, especially someone who's on the fence about buying a property.
Correct.
But the average median price in LA County is $550,000. So we're at $550,000, and the same article says that prices are going to hit $900,000 before that have that 25 to 50% adjustment, leaving prices higher than where they currently are today.
Right.
So I think that if you're considering buying a property, you're renting, it's setting yourself up with a real professional, someone who does real estate as a full-time job that can show you the facts, can show you the data. Historically, for over the last 60 years, depending on the county, you're looking at appreciation rates anywhere from 6 to 8%.
Right.
And if you're looking at the last 5-year period, you're looking at numbers from 25 to 30%. Now, I don't think that real estate is going to continue to appreciate at those levels. It's not going to continue to go up 8% a year within the next 12 to 24 months.
Right.
But it's basically a train that's slowing down. It's still going. It's going slower, but it's still going.
Right.
So prices will continue to go up. And interest rates, as far as interest rates are concerned, when the recession happens, if we're talking bluntly and honestly, within the next 12 to 24 months, interest rates may actually decrease.
Okay.
So interest rates decrease, house prices continue to go up, and that's what we kind of foresee in the market, but house prices aren't going up as much.
Right. So it balances itself out.
It balances
overall.
itself out. Over
Right.
the last 5 recessions, real estate prices have gone up 3 of those times.
Okay. And 3 out of 5 is not bad.
3 out of 5. So
Yeah.
3 out of 5 recessions, and the one that we had in 2008 was the Great Recession.
Right.
So, I mean, that was a very, very different circumstances that we have today.
Right.
So, real estate market is still healthy. And I just think people have to be strategic about how they do their financing, which is part of what we do. We want to make sure that we're actually integrating the client's mortgage into their short-term, long-term goals.
Right.
Where you are today is not where you're going to be at in 5 years.
Absolutely.
It's not where you're going to be at in 10 years. So working with a professional that actually looks at your finances and can help you map that out along with the right agent is what we want to be able to deliver.
And I'm glad you brought that up because when you're taking out a 30-year loan, it's not like purchasing a car where you get 5 or 7 years or leasing a car. It's a 30-year plan, and that's one of the things that are important when you are financing something, right? Where you come in at, it's very important to make sure, like you said, what is your goal? I'm going to be here for 2 years, or my job may transfer. All those things make a difference on how you're going to proceed further in the future as far as your finances. So,
absolutely.
The other part to that is that I found the article that we were referencing. It was the prediction home values would drop by 25% to 50% in the decade ahead. And I didn't screenshot. Oh, it was from the Inland Valley Daily who wrote that. So that goes to the mantra of fake news, right?
It does.
And I'm glad you brought that out because people could see that and be fearful, even from selling their homes, and you combated that, and that's what makes people like yourself in the industry very special, and particularly people who do it full time and know what they're talking about.
There's no context behind the message. You're just spewing out data. As a professional, you got to be able to articulate the point to everyone's individual situation.
Right.
And so I've seen plenty of articles online where they say, real estate prices drop X amount of dollars in a particular county, but then you dive into the actual article,
Right.
and you find a bunch of positive news,
Right.
bunch of positive news within the facts. But what's the headline? What gets people to click
Right.
is negative information.
Right.
And so I sometimes like to address it.
Yeah.
And my job, again, as a lender is to facilitate a process for someone that wants to go through the process.
Right.
My job as a mortgage planner is to integrate that mortgage into their short-term and long-term goals.
Right.
And having a strategy, just like you have a strategy if you have stocks, bonds,
Correct.
those type of investments. Well, this is the largest investment
Right.
you're probably ever going to make. Sometimes, we see clients take more time financing a vehicle. They spend 24 hours or
Right.
close to 20, what it
Yeah.
feels like 24 hours
Yeah.
financing a car, that they're only, financing $20,000 to $30,000 for 5 years, yet they don't want to spend nearly half of the amount of time pre-approving or qualifying for their mortgage when it's 10 times, 20, 30 times the loan amount.
Correct.
And so it's the lenders, the agents providing sound advice, but also the consumer being dedicated to the process and understanding what they're signing up
Right.
for, which is 360 months of even payments, principal and interest, taxes and insurance, a whole bunch of benefits. And that's certainly a conversation that we have with every single client to provide the right advice.
Not only that, it would behoove any consumer to take the extra time to give documentation because a house is an asset.
Yeah.
It can help you in the long run. It helps your children. You can leave it to your children, where a car is a liability. At
Correct.
the end of the day, when you drive that car off, it depreciates
Immediately.
Immediately. Right?
Immediately.
Unlike the house that you're buying. So that makes a big difference. So I want to switch reels real quick to the humanitarian side of you,
Okay.
the passionate side of you, the very caring side of you.
Thank you.
And this comes with knowing him for so long. I could just bring these things up. I haven't looked at this paper one time, but you promote and celebrate a lot of charities. Name some of the charities you do, and then what makes you, because a lot of people in the business, they make money and they're going about their business and they're not caring about anything, but you have a passion for these charities, for these people, and I want you to tell the viewers about it. So outside of mortgage loans, they know what kind of person you are.
Yeah. So for me, it's something, and for my family, it's something that we weren't always in the position we're in.
Okay.
I remember going to food banks as a kid and, getting bread and getting soup because we didn't have it.
Right.
I remember going to the thrift stores, not because it was cool or like something hipster that we wanted a cool outfit. It's
Right.
because that's all we could afford. And so for me, if I'm in a position to be able to put on a load and help carry that weight for others, I certainly want to do it. It's something that our parents raised us with. And so the charities that we support are the Children's Foundation of America.
Okay.
Children's Foundation of America is a local nonprofit organization. They are in Upland,
Okay.
and they help foster kids. And so this past Christmas, I reached out all to my Facebook friends, Instagram friends, and people were able to donate 600 gifts
Oh, wow.
to kids in foster care.
Okay.
But there's other organizations, just like the Foothill Family Shelter,
Right.
that we support, Mercy House that we support. There's a ton of people out there in need. And an interesting fact, I was watching a video yesterday and was saying if you're making $125,000 a year, you're part of the 5%.
Oh, wow.
You're part of the 5% in the world of income earners, high income earners.
Right.
And if you're in real estate, you're probably making over $125,000.
You're
And
right.
so if we're in a position where we're blessed because of our hard work, because of the good things that we do for our clients and our referral partners, why not give back?
Right.
We go to dinner and we drop $100 like nothing,
Right.
yet a family can't, buy a turkey for Thanksgiving.
Right.
And so it's a passion of mine. It's a passion that my brothers and I have, that my parents instilled in us, to give because you want to, not because you can.
Right.
And so I honestly appreciate everybody's support who supported us this far. And if anybody out there wants to continue to support us, find me on social media, and we'll certainly set something up. I'm always looking for something.
So it's
to
year
try to help
round. It's
someone.
not just
It's
based on the
year
holidays.
round.
Yeah.
Always give back. I've been there. Many of you have been there.
Right.
Many of us have been
Absolutely.
there.
100%.
And so sometimes we just need a helping hand.
Yeah.
Someone to care.
And that encouragement. So
Yeah.
that's one of the additional great parts about you and caring in what you do and how you do it as well for those causes. And we're going to always put the information at the bottom so you can contact George directly and let him know. So George, tell me from an entrepreneur side, right? You're in a relationship.
Yes.
I see you online all the time. It's very inspiring.
She hasn't put a ring on it yet, though.
Yeah.
I've been waiting.
Like, damn it, come on. Get it together.
I've been dropping
here.
hints.
Right. It's like, come on. I hope you see this video. Right. So what are your goals for 2020? Not just from a mortgage standpoint, but just overall as growth and going into a new decade. Tell the viewers your goals and what you plan on doing for 2020.
I think for me, it's been consistency.
Okay. That's key.
For the entire time that I've been in this industry, I see people struggle.
Right.
I see friends struggle. I see referral partners struggle, and they struggle. What I've seen is, they close a lot of transactions. They do great for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, and they get the checks in, and then they, on their merry way,
Right.
Doing other stuff.
Right. Doing what they're doing.
And so one thing for me is just to always remain consistent. So I think that's just an ongoing goal, just to stay consistent in the industry, and to part of what I continue to read and what my brothers and I have continued to read is Jordan Peterson, and it's compare yourself to who you were yesterday, not to who someone else is today.
That's a good one.
And so what did I do last year? What was my production last year, and how could I improve that?
Okay.
Versus looking at maybe teams that have 10 loan officers on a team and trying to hold myself accountable to numbers that maybe I may not be able to attain.
Right.
But always increasing the business side, always continuing to contribute, staying consistent with my business, and more than anything to find a purpose that makes the suffering worth living.
Right.
And so for me, it's my family and being happy, and not necessarily always looking at the bottom line, which is a dollar thing that we always try to accomplish.
Right.
But how do I have relationships with my brothers? How do I have the relationships with my parents? How do I have a relationship with Laura? And so it's staying consistent with that message. It's not big, new, what is it, BHAGs, big, hairy, audacious goals. It's nothing like that. I found peace.
Right.
I found peace, and my peace is living a life with purpose, giving back, helping others, and continuing to climb that ladder, that never-ending ladder
Right.
of success. And success is defined very differently to everybody out there.
Yeah, each person is different. One thing I can say about you is that every time I interact or I see you or we're at an event, you're consistent, right? You're busy, you're working, you'll crack like 5 jokes and then you're off to the next thing. So
Yes.
it's not anything different besides that, but it's a good characteristic, right? And one thing I want to dive into as well that you said was okay to ask about is that you've been sober for a while.
Yes.
And I think that that's important to viewers. One of the things I want to do with this show is encourage and uplift and inspire, not just from a real estate or entertainment standpoint, but just from everyday life. People go through it every day. People don't even think that are going through it. I saw Puff on his Instagram saying how he was going through depression.
Yeah.
You own Ciroc.
Yeah.
You're a billionaire. But that just lets you know that people are real. So in that process, tell us why you did that, if you don't mind, why you didn't give up, and how that brought you full circle.
Yeah. It was a struggle. I mean, it was definitely a struggle.
Okay.
I didn't start drinking till I was 21.
Okay.
So my entire life, no alcohol. The beginning of my real estate career, no alcohol. But both you and I know how these parties go,
Whew.
how these networking events go.
Right.
and alcohol's everywhere.
Yeah.
And so it was a very, for me personally, and again, it's just my thing. It was a slippery slope, and I slipped, and I slipped far, and so there was a counselor that I met, and one of the things that he talked about was, if you're in a hole, and you dug yourself into this hole, stop digging, put the shovel down.
Right.
And so for me, putting the shovel down was stop drinking. And so it was challenging. It was very, very challenging in the beginning. I did have to look for help. I did have to look out there for people that knew my struggle, but also seeing people that had overcome it. I was able to see people that are in the limelight, people that are in the music industry, the film industry, and I heard their stories, their personal stories that they shared, and I saw where they were, where they ended, and I saw them climb back up, and it gave me the inkling that it was possible.
Right.
It's possible. And so if you're out there struggling with whatever kind of addiction it is, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, food, there's a way to get yourself out of there. The first thing you need to do is stop digging. Right. Put the shovel down. Take inventory. And for me, inventory meant logically I knew that I had to stop. Logically, I'm like, man, I got to stop this.
Right.
Like, this is not good.
Right.
I got to stop this. Right. But my emotions weren't attached to it. I was still thinking that I could control it.
Right.
Like, no, I can control this.
Right.
Like, I'll handle it. I'll work it out. But once I took inventory of that and I said, you know what, I got to admit defeat. This thing, this substance or whatever it is, has defeated me. And there's no shame in admitting defeat. There's no shame in saying I'm weak to that.
Right.
Because now I don't need that in my life. And I've been sober for maybe about 8 years.
Okay.
I've been able to recoup a lot of the things that I lost. So I lost houses, I lost cars,
Right.
I lost money. And it was a combination of a lot of things, a lot of bad missteps as a young kid
Right.
who was making a lot of money, who had an alcohol problem.
Right.
And so it was a very humbling journey back to
Where you are now.
who I am.
Right.
Right? To be the person that I am today, I needed to have gone through that.
Wonderful.
And so if you're out there and you need help, it's out there. I promise you there are plenty of people out there that have worse stories than mine. All right? Very, very horrible stories, but they found the light at the end of the tunnel and they just kept walking towards that light. So keep walking.
All right, so to your point, one of the things that I heard you say throughout your process, that one, you didn't give up, two, you seeked help, which was very important, and three, you just had an ultimate goal of defeating this ailment that you had. And that's why I want to get across to the viewers that if you become in a dark place, like you said, the mantra is stop digging. You got to stop going.
Yeah.
Because like we brought up earlier, going to these social events, you see everything up under the sun.
Everything.
And, yeah, and then, right, and particularly the alcohol standpoint, but that is commendable. And I'm glad you were open to share your story. I appreciate that. And not only that, I hope the viewers are appreciative of that. So with that being said, what are some of the key things just overall, right, that you can give to the viewers, whether they're in real estate, entertainment, they work at Walmart, that you would think would resonate with them, in addition to what you want to do moving forward with the business, now going back to the business, with the mortgage business and your goals and how you want to accomplish that?
I think one of the things that most of us lack is humility.
Sure, indeed.
And so before I got to that point, it was, I can control this. I got this.
Right.
I don't have a problem. My friends, family, coworkers, or anybody who was kind of trying to interject or provide advice, it's like I didn't want to listen to it. And so it's humility and understanding yourself. No one can understand you better than yourself. And so that conscious that you have, or that white angel and the red devil, that it's talking to you.
Right.
And so for me, I'm a person that looks at things very logically. I try to analyze things, and
Right.
so for me, it was the intellectual side that always told me you should stop. You should take a break. But it's the emotional aspect of really sitting down with yourself,
Right.
and figuring out what's going right in my life, what's not going right in my life, and if I take this one piece away from it, is my life better or is my life worse? And so they say that you establish a habit after 21 days. Some people say it takes a little bit longer. So why don't you give yourself a shot if you think you have a problem?
Right.
Give yourself a shot. Don't drink for a month. And what's surprising to me, and I appreciate it, is that so many people have reached out to me throughout the years that I've been sober, because they've known.
Right.
They've known me when I was sober, then they knew me when I was drinking, and they know me now.
Right.
And they say, you haven't changed as a person.
Right.
You're still the same person. You still have the same heart. And they wonder how I was able to get through that,
Right.
to get through that journey, which is a tough journey. I had to call people, and I had to tell someone, like, I need you to pick me up, because I think I'm going to pick up a bottle and I'm going to drink.
Right.
I'm going to have a drink right now. And sometimes your partner isn't the most supportive.
That's true.
Your friends aren't the most supportive.
And on that note, not to cut you off, but I've seen this man at events with alcohol. It looked like a BET after party. Like, that's just how much alcohol has been here, and he's just like, no, I'm not taking it. And what he's saying is not just for the content of this video. It is truly commendable that you would. Now, you may say, okay, you went to the back and said, hey man, get me the hell out of here. But for that moment, you were steadfast, and it makes a difference.
Yeah, and those moments that happened with me happened early when I first tried to stop drinking.
Okay.
Recently, they don't happen anymore.
Right.
I know that when I was younger, my dad would always tell me, because we would go out when we were younger,
Right.
and go out a lot. And my dad would say, if you're out past midnight, there's nothing good. So now that I'm older, I'm like, okay, maybe I could stay out till 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right.
Maybe I won't do midnight, but I can do 1 o'clock, and then I can go home. Things get out of hand, and people don't intend for them to get out of hand.
True indeed.
I see people in the industry, not in the industry, friends, and I see the arguments, and I see the fights, and I see what happens with alcohol, and I see what happens with drugs, and they have control over it, but they continue to dig.
Right.
They don't want to stop, and sometimes I have friends that reach out to me and say, hey, can you talk to so and so? Can you help encourage so and so? Can you give them some words of advice, or can you try to help them get out of the hole that they're in? And although I understand why they do it, and I try to give them the best advice that I can,
Right.
that person will never get out of that hole until they stop digging,
Right.
until they see that there are others around there that can potentially support them. Because, again, my experience was the relationship I was in at the time, there was absolutely, I would say, 1% support from that person that I would consider my partner.
Yeah.
And I'm struggling with something to improve myself. It's tough when you don't have others to be able to relate to.
Right.
To see others go through the journey with you, or to see others that have gone through the journey and that are at the other end telling you, hey, come join me.
Yeah.
Come join me.
Instead of supporting you and saying, hey man, stay away from this. This is not for you.
Yeah.
And Joel, he was our first guest about 3 weeks ago. He made a good point. I asked him the question, what motivated you to do better and be better and grow and do real estate and hip hop and rap? And he said he met a good woman.
Yeah.
And it just is, and we made fun of how women can help you or destroy you.
Yeah.
But in that context, you saying the person that you were at the time, not your current person, let's be clear on that. Right, that they're only 1% supportive.
Yeah.
That makes a hell of a difference in life, man, and what you do and how you're able to proceed.
It's who you surround yourself with.
Right.
It's again, a cliche thing that my dad would say. It's like, tell me who your friends are, and I'll tell you who you are.
Right.
And so Joel's a great guy. Shout out to Joel.
Right.
By the way, Hi, Joel. So it's something that I talked to my brothers about. I just had a conversation with someone about being in a relationship and being in a relationship with the right person that's legitimately your partner.
Right.
Like your ride or die person.
Right.
They have your back. They know your flaws. But they take you with your flaws. They understand your flaws, and they're helping you elevate to becoming a better person together.
Right.
Just like any business partnership, you need to be able to communicate with each other.
Right.
Just like we said about the transactions, the biggest thing that we
Right.
hear complaints about is communication. So it's super, super important for you and your partner to be on the same page.
Maybe we can make relationship steps 1 through 8.
Yeah,
like here's the first step. And then we'll text them out. Like we're on step 1,
Yeah.
now we're on step 2.
You have to be honest. You have to be
Yeah.
honest. You have to care about your relationship. Otherwise, why are you investing your time into a person, into a relationship
Right.
that ultimately may not pay off? And so, for me, it was finding the right people. It was going to AA classes. I heard some things that that they were just like whoa,
Over the top, right?
like bad,
Right.
bad. Like I can't believe this person went through that,
Right.
and now they're here.
Right.
But you get naked, not literally,
Right. Right.
but you bare your soul to others, and you can see that others have struggled more than you, and if they made it, you can make
Right.
it. And so, again, whether it's alcohol or drugs, I think it's having a commitment to yourself and having a commitment to who you know you can be. And for me, having alcohol wasn't something positive for me.
Yeah,
I wish
right.
I can go to those BET parties. I wish I could have a drink,
Right.
and I could wake up the next day and I could go to work. And I could probably do it for a good period of time.
Right.
But then I'd be lying to myself knowing that I probably want that party to keep going.
Right.
And I know myself enough, and I know my weaknesses enough to say that that's not for me.
Right.
Not now. It hasn't served me. But I did have to go through those trials and
process,
tribulations and the losses, and for me to appreciate who I am and
Right.
what I have today, and how long it took me to battle my way back to where I am.
Trust the process.
Trust the process. You have to. Success leaves trails, and this is not only just for business,
Right.
but also for life. And there are others that have gone through this journey before you. My parents have gone through a journey before me.
Right.
And when I was younger, you don't see it. But the older you get, the more perspective life provides.
And you understand.
And you understand. You're like, yeah, okay,
I
Dad,
get
you
it
were
now.
right.
Right. Right.
You were right, Dad.
I'm glad you said that.
So
It makes a
100%.
difference. So, give something to not only our viewers, but people in the real estate community, whether they be in our San Bernardino County, but just all over who are going to be viewing this. What would be some good tips that we can leave them with based on you doing mortgages?
Mhm.
And we can conclude with that.
Yeah. So as far as real estate, I would just say don't be scared.
Mhm.
Don't be scared.
Right.
You can't.
Right.
You know, there's plenty of good, honest people out there that are real professionals are going to give you the truth. And if you're paying rent, you could probably afford a mortgage. And so I would just say, don't be scared. Give yourself the opportunity to provide your family with wealth. Most millionaires in this country have been created through real estate.
Correct.
So if you're able to buy a house with many of all these programs that are out there,
Right.
down payment assistance programs, we're in California, so there's a ton of programs that are offered through the city, the county, the state. You can get into a house. We've had clients literally buy houses with 50 cents.
Wow.
And so you have a gentleman that buys a house with 50 cents. 5 years down the line, the property's gone up 100,000 in value. Like, what did that cost him
Exactly.
to create $100,000 in wealth? Who can I give 50 cents to?
Right.
It's going to give me $100,000 back
Right.
in 5 years. So you got to get over the fear. You know, certainly find someone you can trust. Give yourself the opportunity.
Right.
And the last thing I would say is get your credit right. I think in our quote-unquote minority communities,
Right.
sometimes we only buy things when we quote-unquote can afford it or when we have cash.
Correct.
We don't have the right advice as to how to finance things when we do finance them. So we don't know how to use credit cards. We don't know how to use our bank account. we're getting charge fees on our bank accounts. We're not using rewards. We're not using, as my brother says, OPM, other people's money, to leverage things. And so consult with a professional realtor, professional lender. Don't be scared. Give yourself a chance. And also work on your credit. It is immensely valuable.
Absolutely.
You will pay, if not hundreds of thousands, depending on your price range and budget that you're in, you could pay millions of dollars more in interest for having bad credit. So you got to get your credit right. You got to talk to someone who can definitely work on that.
Shout out to your brother Diego.
Yes.
MBM Credit Solutions.
Shout
He does
out
a
to
great
Diego.
job. Yeah, he does good, and we'll have him on soon as well, so we can do that. One thing before you go, tell me a little bit about WeRep.
So, since I've started in real estate, there's been this group. It's the Weston Real Estate Professionals out of Rancho Cucamonga and Central Park. And I've always been going to these meetings. And at these meetings, they provide a market update. So for agents, for lenders, what's going on in the market. We have a guest speaker, an educational guest speaker. Agents are able to come out and pitch their listings. And really what it is, aside from the educational portion, it's an environment of people that are like-minded individuals that want to inform themselves and also give back to the communities. So last year, we were able to donate close to $17,000 to some of the charities that I mentioned to you.
That's good.
And so over the since it started, let's say, we've been able to donate over $150,000 to charity.
That's really good.
So it's an awesome nonprofit organization. There's absolutely no recruiting. So you can't come there with an idea of I'm going to go ahead and recruit the people that are there. It's a matter of creating true relationships in our community, helping get educated, providing a platform to agents that want to showcase their listings, and for us to be able to give back.
And it's every Friday.
Every single Friday.
Any agent or lender can come.
Any agent, any lender. Breakfast is $5.
Okay.
So you'll get breakfast. And that's it. And you guys can go to werep.org, WEREP.org.
We'll put it on the screen.
And you guys can look up our upcoming speakers and events.
Okay. And speaking, one more before you go. You have a gentleman, I saw your post, a football player, and Danny Merlos speaking.
Yes.
Okay.
Danny Merlos speaking January 17th.
So in a couple weeks.
Yeah, it's in 2 weeks. He's bringing Relentless over.
Okay.
Mindset and how to have a successful 2020.
Right.
And our friend Brett Lockett. Brett Lockett's a retired NFL player with the Patriots, with the Jets. He's coming out and giving his keynote speech February 28th.
Okay.
He's owner of M2 Jets. So we're certainly excited to have him here.
You want to put a jet in the video?
Yeah, absolutely.
Hop on board. When they come out, is the price the same, $5 still?
Price is still the same.
Oh, all the same, no matter who's there.
Yeah, no matter who's there.
Wonderful.
Yeah, absolutely.
George, I appreciate you.
No, thanks for having us.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, man.
All right,
Thanks,
man.
guys.
That concludes our show. Did you stop it? No, okay. We weren't sure. We're getting the hang of this, but that concludes our show with George. Make sure you tune in next week, and thank you for viewing.